Welcome, one and all, to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. The heat is on. Yes, the heat is on the court, but the heat is on here in South Florida, and the rainy season's coming. That usually does wreak havoc on our homes. Like I've talked about the last few weeks, I used to not really handle issues with the home so well, in the sense that, yeah, in the end, it would get fixed, it would get taken care of, but it was something that stressed me out a lot, and I really didn't know how it would end, how we'd get there, what would happen. And it would add a lot of anxiety to my life. And now I'm very happy to have found Water Cleanup of Florida, because if anything happens to my home, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think, where am I going to go? Can I trust anyone? Well, with over 60 years of experience between Michael, Robert, and their team, and having licensed contractors on their staff, they can not only assess what issues you have, they can then fix them too. And that's something that not everyone can do for you, and that's something that will make your life a lot easier. Plus, you can reach them 24/7 if you do have an issue with your home, whether it's water, fire, mold. 954-579-0356. That's the number to get in touch with Water Cleanup of Florida. 954-579-0356. Or also on the website, WCUFL.com. WCUFL.com. If you do call them and mention 5 Reasons or Lubie, 5 Reasons or Lubie, you'll get a free inspection during business hours. You can also reach them on their socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Water Cleanup FL. Water Cleanup of Florida. We clean up your schmutz. And the schmutz was cleaned from the second half on for the Miami Heat last night as they closed out the Philadelphia 76ers. The national media may focus on James Harden, may focus on Joel Embiid, but it was all about Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy Butler, Max Strus, Hero and Bam were in. But the defense ratcheted it up, and the Heat were up by double digits the entire second half, and they won by 9, but the game never got close in that second half. And the Miami Heat now await their opponent for the Eastwrn Conference Finals, their 8th Eastwrn Conference Finals since 2005. Soon they will play the most conference finals games once this series starts over the Lakers, the Spurs, a bevy of other teams. So we are excited for what's to come with Miami. We talked about it today, Defo and myself, what we saw last night, what we look forward to with the Heat, and also the rest of the NBA playoffs, as you had the Suns fall flat and you had the Heat rise last night. What's going to happen today with Celtics and Bucks and Warriors and Grizz? Right now, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
The Heat, who won last night, and they won easily in Philadelphia, you thought that momentum they gathered in Game 5 was enough to carry over to lead them to a victory in Game 6. And that was pretty much true.
That's exactly what happened.
Game 6 was very much like Game 5 in a lot of ways. Heat in control pretty much throughout. Philadelphia not really making any kind of serious threat in the entirety of the ball game, and eventually losing by, 10 points? 9 points, 99 to 9.
I mean, the game was over. The last 3 minutes, they made a push and took it from 20
It was 20,
down to 9,
with a couple of minutes to go.
It was 20 with like 4.5 left. 20 with like 6 left. Like they made a push to make it look prettier, but the game, they never got within less than 11 until like the last shot, which the game was
Did
over.
you get served with the search warrant, by the way? Did somebody come to your house with a search warrant this morning looking for James Harden again?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
In a clutch series clinching game for the opposition?
He had 1 quarter.
Nothing,
I love it.
Right?
1 quarter, and everyone's like, oh, it's the Sixers. And I was like, yes, the Sixers. The Heat have played the worst games they've ever played in the playoffs for 2 games, guys. Like, relax.
Unbelievable, yeah. So they win, and that was good. That's a good development. And they await the winner of the Milwaukee Bucks-Celtics series. Many people feel the Celtics will still prevail in this series. I'm not sure that I'm among those, because the Bucks stealing that victory in game number 5, now up 3-2, go back to Milwaukee for, tonight's game 6?
Yes.
That series is a little hard to follow from a scheduling standpoint, because it's every 5 days they play a game.
No, they play tonight. That last weekend, they wanted really badly to have Warriors, Grizzlies, Bucks, Celtics on Saturday. They wanted it last Saturday really badly, but no, this week is tonight. Both of those games are tonight.
And what do you think, Mike Lubie? Should the Celtics find a way to scratch out a win, send it back to Boston, and win the series to face the Heat?
I don't know.
Or is it going to be another matchup against what's become? I think Milwaukee is a much more bitter rival now.
Oh, yeah.
Of the Miami Heat than the Boston Celtics could possibly present.
Like, I hate
these two teams don't like each other.
Yes, I don't like either team, but the Heat, yes, they did face the Eastwrn Conference Finals, and it was actually somewhat of a war a couple years ago. But the Heat swept, or the gentlemen sweep that same year over the Bucks, and then last year the Bucks swept the Heat, literally. So, and there was a lot of
pounded them.
trash.
They were vastly superior.
Well, and they talked a lot of trash. They said, "Well, we learned our lessons," and da 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 da. No, I mean the Heat had everyone hurt. Like, that's a load of garbage. Like, you didn't learn a goddamn. But anyways, as a fan, you can tell I'm so bitter. So the Heat, I'm sure, are even more bitter. So yes, the two teams don't like, but it looks like the Celtics and Bucks don't like each other either. It's been a pretty contentious series. I feel like the Bucks wrap it up. Like, much like I felt like the Heat would wrap it up. Like, the Bucks are now a champion. You know, when you get to this point, if you let the Celtics back in and they're going back to Boston, you don't want a Game 7 in Boston. Yeah, they pulled out of the rear this last game. I don't know if that's happening in a Game 7. So I think Giannis, who's played out of his freaking mind, he's been the only guy better, really, game to game than Jimmy Butler in these playoffs. And now Drew Holiday has shown his mettle. That what he did in that last minute was ridiculous. So I think the Bucks will close it out tonight. I don't know what the hell to do with the Warriors series, because to me I thought the Warriors, it would be over the last game. They lost by 80. So
they were down 56. I thought they were down 60 at one point.
But still 56.
They were down 56. They eventually lost by 39. But
come on,
that's a strange one to figure. And again, without Ja Morant in there for the Memphis Grizzlies, they look great,
better,
vastly superior to the team that had one of the. I mean, this guy could be right now the top star in the NBA.
He played really well. Played really well.
Was doing this for a couple of more years, you would have to say that he'd be like the number one attraction in the NBA, Ja Morant. And they're doing it without him. And they played better without him in the regular season, which is really, really
strange.
A seeming aberration. But nonetheless, I mean, it's hard to picture Golden State playing that badly again. I don't know about Memphis playing that well. But the series shifts on the road. And we've seen strangeness in the Western series, too, because I would have thought that Phoenix was going to go ahead and capitalize last night, quiet the whole thing down with the Dallas Mavericks, and instead we're going to see a lot of Mark Cuban over the next couple of days as the Phoenix Suns now forced to a Game 7. And this was a team that was far and away, record-wise, the best team in the NBA this year. Their coach is a coach of the year.
Yep.
And they got, I hate to bring it up, Devin Booker playing great. Chris Paul was playing great. They have other assets. Ayton has turned into a really, really sharp pickup. A lot of people thought that was a bit of a stretch. Maybe it wasn't the greatest year to have the number one overall pick, and they got this guy, and he's really developed into a force. Blends in perfectly with the other guys on the team.
Yep.
Seems to be a team that has tremendous internal chemistry, and yet they go on the road in Dallas last night and get clobbered. I mean, just annihilated. Making you think, how vulnerable is that Phoenix Suns team? How could they possibly be that much of a Jekyll and Hyde club where they slaughter Dallas the previous game and then lose by like 30 points last night? 113-86, more than that.
Yes.
27 points.
Yes.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yes. When Booker was fine, but 8 turnovers. Like, I don't know what's happened to this. I'm so confused. Like, the Heat actually, even I got a little nervous there. And then the last 2 games, they really showed, look, there's a reason we were in the finals 2 years ago. Last year was we had played for a year straight.
So the man you wanted on the bench was great last night, Max Strus.
I don't want Max Strus on the bench.
For 20 and 11. How does Strus get 11 rebounds? He's not a rebounder.
No, he's not in 20 points. He shouldn't be the Heat's second leading scorer, but that shows what this team is, outside of those 2 games. But I still thought that he were not on the same rung as the Suns and the Warriors when the Warriors were playing the way we saw them play the last 3 weeks or so in the beginning of the playoffs.
I mean, is that just one you put a line through and scratch it out?
Know.
I mean, the horse throws in a stinker, runs last one time after winning 4 in a row, and you're coming back and you see that he's 3-1 the next time out. Do you throw out the last race and figure that was just a fluke? That would be my tendency to believe that was the case.
We did it with the Heat because the Heat hadn't shown any, when they had that one really bad game versus Sixers, and we're like, what the hell? But they had never done that the entire playoffs. The fact that the Suns have not done it twice in this series, the fact that now it's not that the Warriors, look, you lose by 15 or 20 in the end, it was close like that Heat game again, like we talked about. It was 5 points and the other one was 3 points with 4 minutes or less, and you lose by 15, 20, whatever, it happens. The Warriors being down by 50-something, like, and losing by 39, like, that's just pride. Like, how do you let it get to that point? I don't know.
You know, I guess once it gets away, it could be anything.
I know, and they're vets.
They did bounce back there in the end there, and they cut that 56-point deficit down to 39. So. You know, the thing, I always go to, I mean, don't start crying about a team pouring it on. Just try to win the fourth quarter. Maybe that's the way to look at that. I'm expecting that thing, to reverse, at least have it be a contentious game tonight. And I wouldn't necessarily put my faith in the Memphis Grizzlies. So if I were you on a Degenerate Friday,
there you go.
I would unload Grizzlies money line.
Yeah, because it feels with Warriors.
I didn't even check the odds on this game yet, because you would have to imagine Golden State going to be favored at home, and that's after losing a game by 39 points.
Oh, this is actually pretty impressive. They lost by 39, 8 in a hook. 8 in a hook, their favorite.
Wow.
It's like you with the Heat yesterday. You nailed it. You're like, why are the Heat the underdog? Like, by 2 in a hook. Like, if they're... So they'll win watch
you were
game
getting,
5?
You were getting, I think, 2.5 or 3.5 with the Heat last night. And there was no reason to believe that. Philadelphia looked like a beaten team.
Yes.
I mean, they looked beaten down. Joel Embiid was getting pounded, and James Harden all of a sudden had reverted to the James Harden that we become accustomed to seeing in clutch situations, which is a non-factor.
Yep.
Now, he'd already been reduced in terms of not being the explosive, unguardable scorer that he was throughout most of his career, but he definitely was nowhere near that level of play anymore this season with either the Brooklyn Nets or with the Philadelphia 76ers. But it's hard to imagine that, the game that we saw in Game 5 with the Miami Heat wasn't going to be somewhat similar to what we saw in Game 6, and yet you were getting points with the Miami Heat.
Yep.
That would have been a nice little parlay. See, if you realize that the Heat just threw in a couple of stinkers, that they were going to go back home, figure out what to do about Embiid, that Harden was going to disappear, that Doc Rivers was coaching against Eric Spoelstra. You could have thrown a deuce down on the Miami Heat in game number 5, figuring that was almost a gimme.
Yeah.
And they were only laying 3.5 in that game, and they ended up winning by a substantial margin. And then come right back and parlay the whole thing on the money line with the Heat last night, as Dave Gergely suggested, and you would have made yourself a nice score. But you know what that is, Lubie? That's typical of any degenerate.
Yes, after the fact.
Because I'm sitting on the throne figuring out, okay, what do we got today?
Exactly.
And then I realized, much like my non-back wheel of the favorite epicenter in a Kentucky Derby that cost me $2,000 in potential winnings, this was the same thing. And I'm not a guy that's going to whip out a couple of sticks and bet on a sports game anyway. I mean, I just don't do that. I'm not a huge sports bettor. I love following it. I don't necessarily get involved very often. But if you were going to, that would have been a good play. And, of course, we didn't do it. So there's another $400 right out the window.
Another lamenting.
So in mind bets alone that we didn't make, mind bets.
I know.
Getting shut out on a mind bet. I'm down 2,400 over the last
it's like 6 days.
Couple of days, yeah. And you guys are tuning in to get my advice on things?
I hope that's not why they're tuning in.
Unbelievable. Andy's alive. That's a good thing. I was betting the over on Andy making it through the week after. I hope he's okay. He was talking procedures and surgeries and various other things, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm happy just to take my walk of life and take a pounding every now and then at the ponies. But hospitals and all of that, all bets are off once you're in the care of the medical field out there. All right, so NBA action still very hot. NHL tonight. Any predictions? You're expecting the Panthers to wrap it up. I'm expecting to have to schwitz it out in a game 7. I really am.
I'm hoping and I'm thinking that what we saw finally was the Panthers we've seen all year long. And Bobrovsky woke up, which I don't expect him to stand on his head like he did in that third period. But I think if they can play aggressive like we saw the second and third period, it's enough where you can overcome Bobrovsky's 2 stupid goals. So what we saw that game was even more so than what we saw in game 1 where they eventually pulled ahead. Like the fact that they were down 3-0 and they weren't sweating and they just kept scoring. And none of those, and they still can't score on the power play, which I don't understand. They're the only team
that has to end tonight. I mean, how can you go in a whole series, like a 6-game series where you've had what? I mean, at least 14 power plays
16.
that we know of.
They're
16.
0 for 16. Like an accident.
It seems like a veritable impossibility that in a 5-on-4 situation, you could go 0 for 16. And yet, the one time that they really needed with the man advantage when they pulled a goalie, they actually scratched out a goal inside of a couple of minutes.
They did.
So I'm hoping to get off to a fast start tonight. I really am, because I'm tired of being in a hole. I'm tired of getting texts from Mike Mayo. Come on, Mayo. Enough of that already, right?
Texts are annoying.
And then he acts like, oh, well, I'm resigned to the fact that I'm going to lose. Just, this has to end. It's become a war. It really has, between us and the gambling gourmet, Mike Mayo. And then, you know how they do that. I mean, it's like, the guy that's doing the interrogation, they played a good cop, bad cop. He is both.
Yes. With
at
himself.
the same time. He is both.
It's crazy.
He tries to soften you up by saying, well, I knew all along that you guys were going to be right. And then at the same time, he's dying inside because he's probably, I don't know where he's going to wall himself in to watch this Game 6, but I would imagine that he would have to have some kind of protective covering on the walls, i.e. padded room, if indeed the Florida Panthers can find their game early in the game instead of trying to dig their way. And that kind of was part of their DNA during the regular season. They came out of a lot of negative situations. But how about getting off to a good start, huh? How about a couple of big saves by Bobrovsky in the first period, 2 goals, Huberdeau and Barkov, and then, boom, we just coast to a nice, easy win. Relaxed, our feet up. Yeah, sweetie, can you bring me another drink? Yeah, no problem.
That'd be wonderful.
Somewhere where we know we're going to end up not having – it's not even about the money anymore. It's just not having to pay this man. As they said in Rounders, we don't want to pay that man his money.
Exactly.
And watch him feed his face on our dime, right? With the meter running. It's like being in a cab on the way to the airport back in the day before they had flat fees for such things.
Yep. And
you're asking a guy, since when do you take 8th Street to get to JFK? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
I had that phobia, though. I don't know if it's
I hate that. Yep.
I hate getting ripped off on rides.
Yep.
Getting badly hosed in restaurants and hotel rooms. 3 things I really hate paying for.
Yep.
I don't mind paying whatever the going rate is, but, when you're in a cab and you're just at a light and the meter's going in New York City and all of a sudden you've been sitting there at a red light and it's gone from $3 to $8.
Yeah. You're like, what the hell?
You're like, let me out. I'm going to take the bus.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. No, I don't know why. That always bothers me. I'm always watching the meter like, hey, could you hurry up? It's almost going to hit $20 here.
Yep.
In a minute. That same ride was $15 yesterday, Jack.
Yeah, exactly.
What are we talking about here? Now with Uber and all of that, it doesn't matter anymore. Although I would imagine Uber is getting prohibitive also, is it not?
It just depends, yeah. I mean, some of these, my mother-in-law came back from Miami, so we took an Uber to Miami to go out to Greece, and it was like 60. I don't know. It was asinine, but it was like 60. So she flew back on a Saturday night because we went like a weekday during the morning. She flew back on a Saturday night when we were at the fights. She's trying to get a ride, and all of us had stuff going on. So she was trying to Uber, and it was like 120, 140. I was like, what?
Oh, you had that F1 thing going on.
Yeah, F1, and it was a Saturday night. Like, I think between heat or pain, there was that.
Now, does the driver get to keep most of that, or how much of that is going to the company?
Most of it.
When they start price gouging like that, does the driver? I would imagine the driver makes out they get a standard percentage. Although the Uber service in Miami, the best place I've ever been for any kind of Uber service, maybe because there aren't that many, as many people there, but Atlantic City, New Jersey, the best Uber service I've ever seen. Anytime you called an Uber, no matter where you were, no matter where you were going, it was always 2 minutes. They'll be there, and 2 minutes later they were there.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, the other night I had to Uber to pick up the Mustang. Had gone to get a bunch of tests at Holy Cross Hospital.
Yeah.
So we call an Uber, and I'm literally waiting like 45 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
And after the guy said he was going to be there in 8 minutes, 45 minutes. And then he keeps, I don't have the service on my phone. So the Mustang had to order it for me. And she's telling me, oh, no, the guy's 16 minutes away.
What the fuck?
It's like 16 minutes away. That was like an hour ago. What are you talking about? And our place is a little difficult to find in terms of the actual unit. So, I go and meet the guy in the front. Still couldn't find a guy. Needed a search warrant. to find his cat. And I finally got there, and then he didn't know where he was going. Had no idea. I'm going 3 miles, and the guy had no idea where the hell he was going. I should have walked it.
Oh, God.
But, it was late at night. I wanted to get there, and, the Mustang's out of the hospital. She's waiting by the front door, and this guy's clowning around. Stops in the middle of the road and says, I said, what are you doing? He goes, oh, no, we have to stop here. I said, you're in the middle of the freaking road, A1A, in the middle lane there. What are you talking about? There's only 3 lanes.
We have to stop here.
I said, who said you got to stop there? Just drive. I'm sugar man.
Jesus, Defo, what the hell?
Very poor service here in Miami.
What are you facing?
South Florida. Uber. I don't know if it's the same. It must be a nightmare in L.A.
Oh, God.
To have to order an Uber, which I would imagine is very popular there.
Appreciate you all tuning in today to the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We're really excited to see the Heat move on to the next round. We are worried about our Panthers tonight. The Panthers on the road versus the Capitals looking to close out their series up 3-2. We'll have more on that. Some about the NHL playoffs, but the NBA playoffs is the big focus. The Miami Heat have moved on to the Eastwrn Conference Finals. You will look to see who they'll face as the Celtics and the Bucks hit the court tonight. Also, the Grizzlies and Warriors hit the court tonight. The Suns are in a Game 7. The Suns, a team that I thought would run away with it, versus a Mavs team that has Luka, but not much else. Well, no, that's not true. The Mavs not only won, but they pounded the Suns last night. So they will have a Game 7. We will see if there will be a Game 7 versus the Celtics and Bucks and in the Warriors and Grizzlies series. We'll talk about all that. Get back Monday. Hopefully everyone has a great weekend. If you want to check out more of us, 7 to 9 each and every day. The Defo Show with Lubie. Just Google that. Just Google The Defo Show, to be brutally honest. DEFO. And check out our exclusive content podcast. A lot of people my age, a little older, a little younger, you definitely should know Allie Larder. I started following her career in Varsity Blues. Well, she's my guest today on the Believe Network, Believe.com. Search after hours. Allie Larder. Yes, Varsity Blues. You had her in Legally Blonde, Final Destination. She was a big part of the show. The hit, Heroes. All the way to now, The Last Victim, her movie is out today in theaters and video on demand. And she was a really fun conversation, so check that out. Believe.com, search after hours, Allie Larder. And check us out here each and every day. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. What if I told you you could go to a great restaurant, feel completely safe because their COVID protocol is unmatched, have an amazing meal, have a great time. When the bill comes, you won't get sticker shock. You're going to say, that's too good to be true. No, it's not, because I'm talking about Texas Roadhouse. Great family atmosphere, great atmosphere for a couple, great atmosphere if you just want to go by yourself and watch a game and have the coldest beer in town. And while you're doing that, have the best bread in town. All at Texas Roadhouse. Everything you get there is fresh every day and made sure it's served at your table, hot and ready to go. And the best part is you don't get sticker shock because the prices are amazing. Texas Roadhouse.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?